In this video, I will focus on the Luhansk region, and in particular, on the northern part of this region. Here the Ukrainians have launched an offensive operation towards Orlianka with a subsequent goal of moving north and undermining the Russian defense around Tavilzhanka. After achieving some success, the Ukrainians decided to broaden their attack even more, which turned out to be an excellent idea because by launching these additional attacks, they identified a weak spot in the Russian defense and immediately changed their focus. As a result, they liberated 3 settlements and pushed the front line even further than they managed in their primary direction. And here is how it happened. Last time the Ukrainians stopped on the Pershotravneve, Kyslivka, Tabaivka line. They established control over the primary defense line on their way toward Pershotravneve, and in order to move further safely, they decided to secure their flank by attacking Vilshana, which they did and established partial control over the village. Since then, the Ukrainians developed their offensive further. Some sources reported that the Ukrainians attacked the village of Pershotravneve itself. As you can see, this village constitutes the tertiary defense line in this direction, and if the fights are already taking place here, then the Ukrainians have successfully breached the secondary defense line along this long ravine. The latest news indicates that the Ukrainians have only partial control over this ravine and that the Russians mainly control the eastern side of it, but even partial control helps the Ukrainians to solve most of their problems. By controlling this part of the ravine, the Ukrainians significantly simplified logistical issues and ensured they could receive supplies and reinforcements much more securely. But this is not the biggest Ukrainian achievement. The biggest success was attained in the southern part of the region. Last time, to support their attack towards the Kyslivka agglomeration, the Ukrainians assaulted Tabaivka from Pyskain in an attempt to fix Russian forces here and move further on Kyslivka. This turned out to be a mistake because the Ukrainians put themselves in a tactically disadvantageous position. On top of that, the Ukrainians discovered that if they reinforced Pyskain, then they could easily take Tabaivka. The clashes around Berestov indicated that there is good potential here as well. If you remember, around 2 weeks ago, when this Kupiansk offensive operation had just started, the Russians sent some scout groups exactly in this region to undermine the capability of the Ukrainians to sustain their offensive. The Ukrainians responded reciprocally and sent some forces in the direction of Berestov as well, and from that time, relatively small clashes here had been taking place on a regular basis. The Ukrainians saw that the Russians were concentrated on holding the Kyslivka line because it is a very convenient agglomeration of settlements for holding defense, which is why it makes sense to attack them from the south. And this is exactly what the Ukrainians did. They adjusted their objectives, reinforced Pyskain and opened 3 lines of attack, towards Tabaivka, Krokmln and Berestov. As a result, the Ukrainians established control over these settlements and pushed the front line even further than Orliansk. Some sources indicate that Russian positions around Krokmln were so undermanned that a number of Russian troops voluntarily surrendered instead of trying to hold these positions. From here, the Ukrainians are expected to move towards Volodymyrivka. Dense tree belts in this area clearly allow for a more secure movement in this direction, which increases the chances of Ukrainian success. The fact that Ukrainian forces are planning to move further is indicated by the fact that Russian sources reported the relocation of Ukrainian artillery and air defense systems closer to the front line. Russian sources also reported that new reinforcements are already on the way to support Ukrainian expansion in the direction of Volodymyrivka. If you are against the invasion of Ukraine and want to support the work that I am doing, consider making a purchase in the online store UA Supporter. Here you can find a lot of products with Ukrainian symbols, to not only show your support for this channel, but also for Ukraine.